Breaking news, this is your late night World War III update. There are unsubstantiated, unverified rumors currently circulating around the internet that Joe Biden is in fact critically ill on his deathbed and will not survive the night. Now, I must preface everything I'm about to say with, I don't believe this to be the case because there is no concrete evidence. There is a viral tweet going mega viral. We're talking about 1 million views every 15 minutes or so. That is basing this whole story on an unnamed informant who's provided them with information in the past that has led to very successful specific predictions, okay? Now, it's also recently been brought to my attention, and this is totally circumstantial evidence, that the flag at the Capitol is currently flying at half-mast. Now, I don't know if there's something else, some other reason why it's flying at half-mast, but I do find that kind of interesting. I will say where there's smoke, there's a little bit of fire. Even if Biden is not fully dead, he's maybe kind of sort of half dead, at least mentally, right? So maybe there's some kind of weird truth to this, but again, I must preface all of this by saying there is no evidence to support this. This is completely unsubstantiated. The only reason why I'm commenting on it is because people have been blowing up my inbox wanting to hear my opinion on it. Now, I will say that people's speculations in this respect are perfectly justified. For the last 3.5 weeks, Biden has been telling everybody that he's in it to win it, very steadfast in his commitment to the re-election campaign, only to back out in the middle of the night in a very informal way, has not given a statement yet, has basically went into COVID isolation. Not even his press secretary has come out and talked about this. So something serious is going on at the White House. And as many mainstream adjacent media publications have stated, that the White House is in a state of chaos and disarray. It's very likely that the Bidens, the people who surround him, are quite resentful of the decision, and perhaps they're just throwing a fit. I think that's the most parsimonious explanation, is that the Bidens are throwing a fit, they're emotional about this, and they haven't found any sort of common ground way to be able to address the public about it. But would not be surprised if tomorrow he came out and gave a public statement. The reason why I'm talking about this at all is because, of course, it's a matter of national security. Here on this channel, we concern ourselves with preparedness for disasters. Well, if it is true that Biden is on his deathbed, then that calls into question who is running the country at this point in time. The United States arguably has been incredibly susceptible and vulnerable, increasingly more so as Biden's mental capacity has diminished over the last few months. But now in this transitional phase, which is not just informal, but it's unprecedented. It's only happened a few times in history, okay? And it's not something that happens every 4 years, like the transition of power from one president to another. So if we were ever most susceptible and vulnerable, it would be in a situation like we're in right now, where China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea are all looking at each other, saying to themselves, do we want to wait for whatever it is we need to do until they have another leader for the next 4 years? Or should we do something now, whether at arguably, and maybe not yet, but peak disarray, not only within the Democratic Party, but the potential for civil conflict? So I could see one of our adversaries trying to seize upon this opportunity, okay? Especially when you know that Kamala now has a shot at winning. Apparently she's locked in the amount of delegates that she needs she's clinched the Democratic nomination, and she's gotten something like over $200 million in the last 31 hours or something crazy like that. So the idea that Trump is a shoo-in on the basis of the RNC performance in the assassination attempt, I believe is premature. And as the saying goes, don't count your chickens before they hatch. So it's going to be a bloodbath, I do believe, hopefully only figuratively and not literally, but we could definitely see massive civil unrest unfold. And I do believe we will in the very least. Now, our adversaries are faced with a very opportune moment here where they can seize upon this window of opportunity, okay? Just get the lights on here again. And potentially make a move And this is when we're going to be slowest to respond, or when our response may be least thought out and most haphazard. So what's concerning is this flag flying at half-mast at the Capitol. I don't know what that's about. That's the only real circumstantial piece of evidence that would support this, other than that they said he had COVID not too long ago. And but of course, he just said the other day that he's going to be making a statement tomorrow, and I would not be surprised if he does, okay? But again, this is very, very suspicious as to why they've waited for so long. It could just be the incompetency that we're seeing time and time again. What's most concerning is what's going on geopolitically around the world while this same thing is happening. So right now we have nuclear capable bombers in Romania. The USA has deployed its nuclear bombers in Romania near the border with Ukraine. Two B-52H Stratofortress arrived at the Michael Cognisio Air Base on July 21st as part of the Bomber Task Force 24-4 drills. The U.S. European Command has said this is the first time that U.S. strategic bombers capable of carrying nuclear weapons have operated in Romania, according to Ukrainian media. Now, in addition to that, we have B-52 bombers operating over the Barents Sea near Finland. 3 USAF tankers returning from mission over Finland, rumored to refuel B-52s from Barksdale. Report from Russian MOD that it detected 2 B-52 bombers over the Barents Sea. In addition to that, there was also an interception over Russia. Of course, the concern with Kamala entering into office is that she is going to continue the foreign policy agenda of the Biden administration. Now, of course, Netanyahu is there right now to try to see who is going to pander to him more. So the Israeli lobby gets behind whichever candidate. As is typical with the Democrats, they're going to support Israel, but only on paper, right? They're not going to publicly do it, especially now that a large part of their voting base is not in favor of what Israel is doing in the Gaza Strip. So they'll continue to send weapons over there. They'll just do it very discreetly. So I think, however, Netanyahu is wanting somebody to be explicitly in support of what the Israelis are doing. And of course, Trump has no problem doing that. Neither does Vance, his VP. In terms of what's happening in the Middle East, that in itself is a powder keg. We have an Iranian commander currently saying that Israel has opened the skies of hell. Now the entire resistance will work to wipe out the enemy once and for all, and that blow is coming soon. And of course, Netanyahu loves to remind us that Israel is fighting a war on 7 fronts. And now this is a commander of an Iranian navy saying that Israel has opened the skies of hell. Now, in reference, of course, to the attack on the Yemenis' gas and port infrastructure there, which was massive. And now the Houthis, have every justification they need to ramp up the war. Not that they even needed one, because of course, remember, it was entirely, unprovoked from the Israeli point of view that the Houthis have been attacking Israel in defense of Hamas and Hezbollah. So now that Israel has actually directly attacked Yemen, and now the Yemenis, honey badgers, they're going to go all in. These guys just simply don't give a shit. Now, in terms of the president of Serbia quadrupling down on his predictions that NATO is getting ready for a massive war. Get a load of this. Alexander Vucic says, once again, in another interview, they, being the Transatlantic Alliance, are preparing for a conflict with Moscow, and they're preparing much faster than some people realize. We know this from the military preparations we see and how they're being conducted. The other day, I reported that 17,000 Polish military was moving towards the Belarusian border. And that is just the tip of the spear. I mean, we're talking about a 500,000 combat readiness force that NATO is amassing. They're getting all the corridors ready and all the rest. Anyways, He says, I want to tell you that they are preparing for a military conflict. Victory over Russia is only possible if something happens to Vladimir Putin. Now, I'm not sure what to make of this last statement. Is he trying to send a message to Putin in saying this? Because, of course, if Vladimir Putin is assassinated, or if what he is saying is true, is victory over Russia guaranteed? Because, of course, we could see a far more aggressive, more hawkish, more hardline, quick to use nuclear weapons leader enter into that role. And while it might lead to Russia's ultimate undoing, that's not to say that it won't create more chaos in the short term. So a lot of the most outspoken and very prescient pundits, from Zhirinovsky to Vucic to Orban, are all warning about a major war that is about to take place. And what better time to do that when the U.S. political system is in complete disarray? Now, in terms of what is happening on the Polish front, I'm not sure how much battery power I have left on my laptop here. It's going to crap out on me. I'm just doing this on the fly tonight because people have been blowing up my inbox. Okay, I might run out of juice, but I got some insider info from what's happening in Poland. So there is a discussion to introduce a law that would allow the Polish Minister of Defense to single-handedly requisition real estate both in the countryside and municipalities for the purpose of creating defense lines, shelters, and other national defense needs. The owners would be paid the market value of such properties. However, the specific amount would be determined by government-appointed adjudicators. So essentially, this is eminent domain type stuff. They're going to expropriate your property, pay you what it's worth, I guess, or what they say it's worth, and they're going to use that to build military fortifications. Poland is preparing for war. Get a load of this. The Polish Border Guard will now create a new permanent riot control formation trained by the Polish police, which the main goal will be to deal with the larger groups of immigrants trying to illegally cross the border, but may also be used against civilians protesting around the border for some reason. In addition to that, there's a new law which for the first time will allow the use of regular army personnel in their full equipment on the territory of their own country without being at war with another country or even declaring martial law. So basically allowing military guys in full kit to walk around the streets anywhere they want, even though they're not in a full state of war, which is a great way to prepare for an actual war. Also, the new Act on Civil Defense is entering the last phase of consultations. It will require all new multifamily buildings, both in big cities and small towns, to have a built-in shelter. Originally, the government wanted this to come into effect immediately and for the investors to bear the full cost of this additional construction. However, now there is talk of subsidizing such construction and delaying its entry into force. Also, the government will be allowed to choose at will the specific locations and building which will be required to be built, not basic shelters, but full nuclear-proof bunkers, okay? So the government is about to subsidize their civil defense infrastructure to build nuclear-proof bunkers in Poland. I tell you, man, things are heating up, and Jeff Bezos is about to sell another $5 billion worth of stock, bringing the total to $15 billion worth of stock that he has sold this year. That new wife of his must be very, very demanding. Also, we have a situation developing with Hungary and Slovakia in response to Ukraine's decision to halt the transit of Russian oil. Hungary has hinted at the possibility of stopping electricity exports to Ukraine. The Hungarian government views Kiev's actions as destabilizing for Hungary and Slovakia. So there you have it. Everything is in disarray. What an interesting time to be alive, but what a dangerous time to be alive. Let's hope that the rumors are not true and that Biden has not croaked overnight, because as much as you might not like Biden, that puts the country in a very, very sensitive state and a very vulnerable state from a national security standpoint. In the very least, people should be wanting a smooth transition of power so that you can go through the whole election thing. Wow, it is dark in here, isn't it? There we go. Anyways, guys, I think that's a sign that we need to call this quits. If you want to support the channel, check out CanadianPreparedness.com. Gotta go. Take care.